I feel like I have some new things to say, or I've been thinking some new things, or I've just been thinking some things when I'm at my most clear, open state, which usually happens when I've binged a lot of non-duality type of videos that helps me remember and let go of my identity, and also like my lack of identity, and the feeling that I talked about in the last video, where it's not necessarily that I'm struggling, but the body wants to associate like a negativity to boredom or stagnancy. Stagnancy a word. Like when you're stagnant, the body, or at least my body, likes to make a shortcut from the nothingness to badness, because there's a sense of wasted time, and especially like regards to age, when you're wasting time and you are a certain age, you just don't have time to waste, and then that's when the feeling of comparing your life to other people's comes. And I think even when you attempt to let go of your identity, there's something, and it's not ego driven, there is something that feels guilty that you're not doing the most. And I don't know if that is just a piece of God knowing that it's infinite and can have all possibilities and is mostly not doing any of them. But that's not exactly what I wanted to talk about. I wasn't even thinking that way, but I wrote some stuff in some post-it notes, which is what I do when I work. And I'll just kind of go through each of them. So something I was thinking about is being interested in the topic as a topic rather than a thought process. This especially with non-duality, because it is something that I accidentally came across, and since I'm like a curious person that can learn things without pushback or accept things without feeling offended in many ways, which is why I'm good at learning about conspiracy theories, because some people just automatically shut down and call it stupid or are scared or something, and I don't take it any which way. So I was able to take in a lot of knowledge and consideration without making it into a battle. So I'm good at investigating and being curious, but then my curiosity, that's something that I've been lost in, and it's, do I actually have interest in these topics? Do I care about these topics? Or has it just become a habit and I'm like familiar with them? And I think something that's difficult to parse for me with non-duality is that you can't tell if you're interested in it as a topic or interested in it as a process, because it requires inherent participation. Because in my mind, I'm reflecting on what I'm thinking, and non-duality is a lot about self-reflection. So it's almost like I'm practicing the way these other people think, and that turned me into a person that thinks in non-duality because of what I've learned, and not necessarily my experience, but then I have felt the experience. So I hope that makes sense. It's like you can't help but go through the process yourself, because it's just another way of thinking, and the mind needs to think anyway. It's like the mind has to do things. I was thinking about the internet, and some people believe that the internet is neutral and it can be good or bad, and that's usually based on a perception of content. So if it's negative content, that means the internet's bad, and if it's positive content, that means the internet's good. But I think that regardless, it's like a Marshall McLuhan, the medium is a message thing. And since the way the internet has rewired our brains through the format and through the organizing and like the chronological orders, the rankings, the preferences, these types of things, like the likes, the dislikes, that reshapes the mind regardless of the type of content that's on the internet. So I feel like either way, it's important to detox because of the way the mind organizes itself through these features. And what I've noticed from the internet is the severity of duality that's produced, and the way that produces like a lot of preaching and teaching and assumptions of being right and sometimes knowing of right. And more people want to teach than know. And that's bringing like a lot of irritation. Okay, since I'm just like reading off of post-it notes, kind of nothing's gonna be very cohesive to my point, but these are just like random things I was thinking about today. And like, like why is the internet so specifically annoying now? It's because like the duality has never been deeper, but then also there are unspiritual corners. There's always talk about 3D versus 5D or a certain timeline split or other splits like that, and I think that also has to do with the amount of duality going on right now, which I think it's best to basically ignore both extremes of each side. And I was also thinking about like, why do you want to meet God or be enlightened? And the experience of meeting God or being enlightened could either that means you expect to be given something. You expect enlightenment to give you something, or perhaps take something. To see what can be given or taken. I don't think I ever really reached for enlightenment, but I feel like I got sucked into a loop because when I was learning things, the algorithm will change to show you more of that, and then when I see more of that, it's almost like I've convinced myself that I'm really interested in something, and since there are teachers, then that's what made me a seeker. It wasn't necessarily I was seeking something, but I saw that there were teachers, so then I was interested in what they were teaching, and then I saw that something that they were teaching could be sought after for. And when you get a lot of the algorithm, then it's kind of the assumption or putting the trust in this is shown to me, and like the computer knows me better than I know myself, so I should watch it because clearly I'm interested in it. So I never questioned my level of interest. I just kept diving in deeper because I'm a curious person, and I think when the physicality is there's a barrier, you don't understand the danger of curiosity when you're online. It's not the same as in person when you understand, like, if you're going through the woods and you hear a sound, that there's danger to follow it. There are a lot of things online that are basically essentially the same thing of like the crack of a branch, but you still follow it because you know that you aren't in harm's way, or you believe you aren't in harm's way because you aren't in physically in harm's way or the potential. And so I think sometimes my curiosity got the better of me, or by going down these rabbit holes, because I definitely can return to myself or certain ways, and through this perception of change or these changes, you feel like you lost something or you lost yourself, and you have to return to your former self, and that happens with mental illnesses too. Like I spent a lot of years after depression or during like my awareness of depression of feeling like I had to return to someone, and especially return to a child, and I can't return to my childhood self because I'm simply grown and my brain works differently and my sensibilities are different. So I can't judge myself based off of you're not in a good place because you aren't 14 again. Well, I can't be 14 again. I can't be in that mindset. And I shouldn't compare myself to these different ages anyway, because who I wanted to be at 14 is nothing like I am now. And when I look back on, when you look back on what you were, you can see different possibilities too. So I think looking back or looking forward, there's too many possibilities to call yourself a failure or a success. Because there's so much that could have happened. So it's always easy to be like hard on myself and also like proud of myself, but also neither. But the thing I mainly wanted to talk about, what I thought that the video was going to be a couple days ago, but I felt like it wouldn't have been enough quote unquote content. I'm not sure why I think the video should be in longer length. I'm not even sure if they're understandable at the speed that I put them at. And it's not necessarily for anyone, but I feel like it's an interesting wish, but I would hope that someone would find this and find like consolation or not feel alone. I guess because in my situation, I felt alone, and so very specifically alone that it would truly feel like a drop in the ocean to find videos like this. So I guess I'm trying to reach out to what other parallel versions of myself there are. But what I was thinking about meditation and the fact that when I attempted to meditate in the past, it was more so like an extra layer on top of my life. So I hadn't let go of my identity yet, and I was still trying to do self improvement and return to a healthy version of myself or an old version of myself, the version that I've been most familiar with. And so, like, attempting to be me, but also attempting to be silent and hear something beyond me, which I realize now must have been difficult. And I didn't really think about just sitting in silence. To sit in silence, it was always very intentional and like, okay, I'm gonna sit in silence for 15 minutes and I hope I get what I need to get out of this. And if I don't, then that's kind of a failure and I'll just keep practicing this way. But nowadays, I don't really purposely meditate. It's just I genuinely like sitting in silence because I'm so tired of everything else. And I think either way, I fall asleep all the time. Like in the past, when I try to meditate, I fall asleep. And now when I sit in silence, I'll just get drowsy and then I'll decide to sleep. But it still feels different. It's like in the past I forced myself to meditate, but now I've gotten to the point where it's like I'm gradually, naturally being pushed to do it. And I think the sitting in silence will end up turning into meditating. And then I'll get, maybe I'll get some like perception of more like out of it, like some kind of sign or voice from something. I'm not really interested in hearing anything from anyone anymore, like in regards to spirit guides or some extraterrestrial type of things. I had this experience with tarot cards. I had like a really good feeling. I was thinking about someone and I felt so much love for them. And it was someone that I haven't had contact with in a long while. And I felt an immense amount of love out of nowhere just from myself. I just created that state of love, and I've never created that state of love so strongly just by myself with no reason to. And I stupidly decided to use tarot cards to validate myself and my reunion with this person. And the cards weren't good, and it's kind of just like free falling from my own state and wishing that I could have held on to that genuine feeling before I had, taken it away or something had taken it away, because I was seeking outside validation from like the perceived like higher beings or like higher self or stuff like that. And I just don't like that feeling that by seeking permission I had given my state away. And why should I listen to these entities as if they're my superiors or like seniors, when I've tried so hard to do things and I've listened so hard and I've been so open to any kind of messages and I've received nothing. to purposely go back to them and it'd be shut down. If that was even them shutting me down, it's just a whole bunch of like make believe. It's without validation. So I'm trying not to, or I just am not even trying not to. It's just like natural now. It's like I just don't care. You know, if something's like so bad and so dangerous, maybe something would say something to me, but it's kind of like there's this meme that's like, you probably haven't done anything bad, so bad, because if you did, like your future self would have time traveled back to stop you. It's kind of like I have to live believing that believing and having the faith that if something really screwed up, like impossibly, that I would be warned. Otherwise, everything's fine, or it's just up to me, and to not wait for the step-by-step process of having permission or validation. It just takes a lot of time because you're never sure, and you can never validate your own validation. So I just enjoy being nothing today and continuing this week of sitting with my feelings and kind of realizing the different waves there are, or paying extra attention. To keep myself neutral. And not comparing myself to anyone. And by comparing, I mean not attempting to teach anyone in my head and correct anyone and to say that they're doing things wrong. And kind of just letting myself remember it's none of my business. And to just remember that, like, my priority is my own life. And making it as easy as possible. Which may sound selfish, but if everyone focused on themselves more, then everyone would be happy. I think if everyone was more selfish, then there could be a possibility of everyone being more happy because they're living for themselves, so there's less resentment and irritation that goes outwards and is like covered up by passive aggressive like happiness or pretending you're kind when really you just give too much and then resent that. I've basically been accepting unfairness. Unfairness and the lack of free will. I wish I could explain more because these topics do interest me, but I probably just have to think about it more. I don't, but also like it doesn't need to be intellectualized, doesn't need to be properly understood, doesn't need to be explained. I get the wanting to think about it more, to explain it more, to understand. It's kind of like a black box. Like I know there's logic in there. Like I know and appreciate that there is like a beautiful way that all these pieces and concepts are working together, like inside a black box, like gears and cogs and like everything is seamlessly like working. So I'm so interested in how it works, but it actually doesn't matter. It's just important to stay with the feeling and have that awareness of not taking things so personally, that this is just consciousness playing with itself. and you can't be more aware than that awareness. Like in your head, you think in my head I think like this is just consciousness playing with itself, and then I imagine like a bigger consciousness that's above me that's like watching me and is like aha, she gets it, and one day she will get it enough that we will personally talk to her. But there's nothing bigger than me. There's nothing different than me. Like you still imagine a separation of you know the answer, but you want to talk to the answer. You want to talk with the answer, and you can't do that because you just are the answer. And like this is it. This is what they always say. They're just like this is it. This is it. This is all there is. This is all there is. And people still ask questions, but it's like this is all there is. This is all there is. And because you don't have the faith or the belief that you can be the senior and that you know, and that just because you think you don't know, it doesn't mean you don't know. You know, but you think you don't know, or you're pretending you don't know. So I know all the answers. It's just something in me knows all the answers. It's just like this personality, this like teeny tiny piece does not have the conceptual knowledge or to know every single part of the gears, or maybe there aren't names for the gears at all. And I just think that something's being hidden. You just believe that things are being hidden from you, and nothing's being hidden at all. And that's where I can feel my bliss, when I accept that and I admit. I can't find the post-its that have this, but I was saying something about admitting, just admitting that you don't know. And there's an importance to just admitting. I feel like we all need to say out loud to each other more often, or every day, like, I don't know. I don't know anything. I don't know anything. We're pretending to know, and we pretend to know just enough to make the world go round in the way that I want it to go round, and to keep the stores in stock, and to get the cars moving. But that's another anxiety. It's just the general pretending that we actually know anything. And even like religious people with whatever religious book or text words, the relief everyone would feel to just say, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know what I'm doing here. Do I care to know? I don't think I care to know. It's just this illusion of time is like constantly reflecting myself back so fast that it's just I have no choice but to talk to myself. And that's, even when I'm talking to other people, that's just talking to myself. That's all we're doing. Because there is no separation. So what I'm experiencing is just the awareness of talking to myself and knowing there's something else to do. And believing that there is something else, and once this is over, maybe this a lifetime, I'll experience like something else. But I don't know. And what if there isn't? And should I live believing that there isn't anything else to do but talk to myself? I think that would be a better way to live, because then it would release me from the waiting. Or, even when I'm not waiting, it's still kind of waiting for something different. And I should just focus on this life. What's so wrong with this life? What's so bad about this life? Why am I comparing it to things I've never experienced and I've only heard about other people, other experiences? Like when people go under the quantum healing hypnosis techniques, or have dreams or near-death experiences, they always tell stories, and then you get interested in about these different worlds, these other dimensions, these other ways that you believe are real, but you don't experience. and then you suffer here because you believe you are being like locked out of an experience. But what if that was never yours to experience anyway? And then you're just suffering for what wasn't yours and what was never considered a reward. It just was considered a thing that happened. So we are constantly in the assumption that we are either being rewarded or punished. And I believe that is the reason why most people have existential thoughts or the debate of whether God exists or not is because we want to know if we're suffering or not. It's not about the creation, it's just an answer to are we suffering or not. It really matters to us if we're suffering or not. And I haven't been suffering, it's just I've been stressed about some money situations and, you know, daily expenses, monthly expenses like rent. So I just have to work harder, more efficiently, work smarter, be less, be less loyal to random companies in order to, keep it moving, to be less stressed, to be more comfortable, to have an easier life, which I have no guilt for. And I'm trying to use the benefit of this non-identity to quickly move and get over myself and not take, things as a big deal or waste time or think I need time to recover because there's nothing to recover from. I have no bruised ego. There's no one to fight with for a long time. It's just everything just to move quickly through it and not create a narrative. And when you don't create a narrative, you don't create pages. When you don't create pages, you don't create time. And that's how I'll just jump through all of this. So nothing's wrong. Nothing's wrong, and I can't help but love what this is. Love being me, love doing this, love my whatever this is, my nothingness, my somethingness, because it's all it is.